Why is everyone moving to West Virginia? That's a good question. A few years ago, if someone told you they were thinking about moving to West Virginia, you'd probably assume that they had fractured their skull playing Frogger in real life. For the longest time, West Virginia was the go-to state when needing an example of extreme poverty and widespread addiction. These days, they still have those things, but not nearly as bad as they have in the past. And that's how a lot of people see West Virginia. That's because they only see the state on the surface. They go off of what they've heard in 3-minute clips on the news, or from some jackass in Oregon that makes a video about West Virginia and calls them all hillbillies. Most people have never visited West Virginia, and it's really not a populous state, so not a lot of people are from West Virginia. I made a video about West Virginia and got an email from a local radio station, and they basically wanted me to come visit. Here's the thing, I did. And now I love the state. The people at WTSQ in Charleston showed me the state's not filled with moonshine and hillbillies, at least not in the cities. In the last few years, people have started to warm up to West Virginia, and today we're looking at the 10 reasons more people are moving to West Virginia than actually leaving. Got it? Get it? Good. Let's take a look. Number 10, the cities will surprise you. Yeah, that's a fact. Everyone thinks that West Virginia is just this country bumpkin place of small towns, roadside shacks, and trailers. You can find that, but not as much as you'd think. Actually, their cities are pretty nice. I've been to Charleston, I've been to Morgantown, never been to Huntington, but I hear it's really nice too. Charleston, I love. Morgantown, it's a pretty decent city. They have the University of West Virginia there, go Mountaineers. And like all the other cities in West Virginia, they got beautiful landscapes surrounding it, and they usually got a river flowing right through town. Morgantown has the Monongahela River, which I'm sure I did a pretty bad job of pronouncing. Huntington has the Ohio River, and Charleston sits on the Kanawha River. But yeah, that's one thing people always say, they're surprised how nice the cities are in West Virginia. Number 9, it's beautiful. If you're the outdoor types, you already know West Virginia is one of the most beautiful states we have. Now, everyone has a state that they think is the most beautiful. Not everyone is going to say West Virginia is number 1, but I bet 90% of the people that have visited West Virginia has it in their top 5. This is the mountain state, and they got a lot of mountain state type things to do. Mountain biking, hiking, camping, fishing everywhere. Kayaking and rafting are really big in West Virginia. In my opinion, the 5 most beautiful states are Oregon, Colorado, West Virginia, Pennsylvania, and Vermont. Number 8, the people. West Virginia, unfortunately, has to combat a number of unpleasant stereotypes, perhaps most notably that mining towns can be somewhat rundown and filled with uneducated people. Well, they have some of that, but it's not like as widespread as people think. I don't know if I'm lucky or what, but I've known one person in my life from West Virginia that was a total jerk, and he was only a jerk when he drank, and that was the guy I was in the army with. Now he's all clean and sober and a very religious man, so he got better. Every other West Virginian I know is just a wonderful person. They're kind, they're friendly, and they're very welcoming. Now, don't get me wrong, they do have their hollers, and some of the people up there get a little weird, but you can find something similar to that. Probably not as bad as the hollers of West Virginia in just about every state. But basically those hillbilly stereotypes you hear about West Virginia, you're not going to see them everywhere. You'd actually have to go looking for those people. Yeah, it's an unfair stereotype. Number 7, autumn. Okay, this is one I've experienced myself. West Virginia is the most colorful state I've ever been to during autumn. The hills are just carpeted with bright yellows, orange, and red. It's amazing. New England's known for their fall colors and all that. I would argue West Virginia's is a little bit better, mainly because of the mountains and just how much nature they have in this state. I'm planning on going back to West Virginia, and I'm actually planning to go during that time just because I want to take a really good camera and get some good footage of it. It's amazing. Now, to a lot of you, that doesn't seem like a big deal. I grew up in Southern California. We don't have seasons. In Redondo Beach, there is summer and 2 weeks of rain. That's it. And when the rain actually does happen in Southern California, every news crew is out there trying to track down a puddle to film. But honestly, if you grew up or you live in some place like, let's say, Texas, Arizona, New Mexico, California, Nevada, Utah, you need to visit West Virginia during the autumn at least once in your lifetime. Number 6, the history. A lot of people don't realize how much history went on in West Virginia. If you like learning about history and going on tours for historic sites, you'll love West Virginia. They have communities like Harper's Ferry, which was attacked by John Brown. If you don't know, John Brown was an American abolitionist. He didn't want slavery. He was the leader of this group that decided they weren't just going to vote to get rid of slavery. They were going to attack plantations and places that had slaves. One of those places, for some reason, he decided to attack Harper's Ferry in West Virginia. He was eventually captured and executed for this Harper's Ferry incident. In 1861, the United States itself became massively divided over slavery, leading to the American Civil War, as we all know. The western regions of Virginia split with the eastern portion politically. This divided the state, and they were never a single state again. In 1863, the western region was admitted into the Union as a new separate state. Initially, it was planned on being called the state of Kanawha, which the Kanawha River flows right by Charleston, but ultimately was named West Virginia. There's a lot of really cool stories and happenings that went on in West Virginia. And I really don't think people understand that. You always hear things in Virginia, Boston, things like that. You never hear about West Virginia having a lot of history. They do. That's not really as much of a reason why people move there as it is an interesting thing about the state that most people don't appreciate. Number 5, great for remote workers. Yep, West Virginia has become the hot spot for remote workers. It's one of those states that's offering money for you to move there. If you check out makemymove.com, they have all kinds of information on all the different states, but West Virginia is one of them. They're pushing hard for it too. It's like Morgantown will give you $20,000 to move there if you're like a tech worker. But with West Virginia being as cheap as it is, which we'll get to later, and good internet infrastructure, it's a solid move. I mean, even if they don't have internet where you want to move to, or decent internet, I should say, you have Starlink. And that should cover just about anything you need to do online these days. But honestly, if you've got like student loans, things like that, and you want to try and get on top of that type of stuff, take a job in West Virginia, a remote job, work from there, your cost of living's low, you'll be able to get ahead of the game. And that's one of the largest demographics moving to West Virginia, is the remote workers. Number 4, great for retirement. Just like the remote workers, you share a lot of the same things with retirees. They want a cheap place to live, and West Virginia is that place. Your retirement dollar goes a lot further in West Virginia. Mississippi and Alabama are about the only ones that got you beat. They have a lot of communities for retirees in West Virginia, along with great health care. And that's one of the other largest demographics of people moving to West Virginia. Sure, they do have some pretty harsh winters, which retirees tend to try and stay away from, but the amount of money you'll save might make it worth it. Number 3, the music scene. West Virginia is all about their music, and I mean going way back to when they were playing Appalachian folk music, fiddling, ballad singing, and today's music scene where you can hear amazing bands like Hello June. They're from Morgantown. There's a band, I believe they're from Charleston, that's called Quiet, spelled Quiet without the U. But Hello June, I've been listening to a ton of them lately. It's not all just like country and folk music in West Virginia, even though a lot of bands, you do hear a hint of it in their music. It's an amazing place for music, and they have festivals every single week, it seems like. They also have Mountain Stage, which is a 2-hour music radio show that first aired in 1983. It's produced by West Virginia's Public Broadcasting and distributed worldwide on NPR. I still have this thing. I want to go see one of the shows in Charleston. Number 2, a very low cost of living. Yeah, we talked about this earlier. West Virginia has one of the lowest costs of living, and that's what's drawn a lot of retirees and remote workers to the state of West Virginia. In the first half of 2022, West Virginia was ranked 6th in the nation for the lowest cost of living. That means your day-to-day expenses are getting a discount. It's almost like having a debit card that has a 30% off coupon that never expires. It's amazing. They say nothing's better than a free beer. Well, a beer that's about 30% cheaper than the rest of the country is almost as good. And West Virginia, it doesn't cost much to get by here, and that's compared to other, states. If you're collecting recyclables for a living, yeah, it still might be expensive to you, but for everyone else, it's really not that expensive. Over the years, West Virginia struggled with a lot of problems. A lot of those problems they're now recovering from, but that has helped keep the cost of living very low in this state. All right, before we get to number 1, don't forget we have another channel called On This Day. There is a link down below. Head on over there and watch some videos. It's videos about things that have happened on this day in history. All right, on to number 1. And number 1, real estate. That's right, overall, West Virginia has the cheapest real estate in the nation right now. I shouldn't say right now, it has for a long time. The most expensive place to buy a house in the United States right now is Hawaii, and their median home value is $636,000. Okay, California is a lot better, $538,000. Now that's the median, that's not the average. Obviously, those places have multi-million dollar homes, and a lot of them. West Virginia, their median home value is $123,000. That's less than the middle of the road for all the states, which is $235,000. That would be Minnesota. So it is cheap to live and it is cheap to buy a home in West Virginia, so why wouldn't you? Sure, it's got a bad reputation in a lot of different places, but I think it's not really deserved anymore, and their winters can get harsh. That's about it. But if you're willing to overlook some stereotypes, buy a thick jacket, you could save a lot of money moving to West Virginia. Your retirement can be a lot more comfortable, and you could pay off student debt. You could save up money to buy a house someplace else by spending a few years in West Virginia. If you do think about moving to West Virginia, there's always a link below in my description area for a website called Home and Money, and they'll get you in touch with a realtor in any area in the United States, and they got mortgage calculators on their website, all kinds of good stuff. All right, that's today's video. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you got some information out of it. Now go out, have a great day, and be nice to each other.